Good evening. Welcome back to Newsmax TV's post-debate special. I'm J.D. Hayworth. 5 candidates now vying for the Republican nomination, and with this smaller field comes higher expectations for each campaign. Now, coming up in just a few minutes, we'll be joined by former 2016 Republican candidate Mike Huckabee, so you'll want to hear from him. It's also worth noting that tonight's debate is the final such discussion before Super Tuesday, where voters in a dozen states will go to the polls. It may be the last chance for a whole lot of people in those crucial states to hear the candidates make their case. The question was asked going into the debate, would the two senators go after the billionaire businessman front runner? And that question was addressed early and often. Take a look at this exchange between Florida Senator Marco Rubio and frontrunner Donald Trump.
You don't repeat yourself.
Here's the guy who repeats himself.
You repeat yourself every day.
I watched him, talking about repeating, I watched him repeat himself 5 times 4 weeks ago. And
I saw you repeat yourself 5 times 5 seconds ago.
I watched him melt down on the stage like I've never seen anybody. I thought he came out of the swimming pool.
I said, well,
let's talk about your plan.
Himself every night. It says 5 things. Everyone's dumb. He's going to make America great
Senator
again.
Rubio.
We're going to win, win, win.
Senator
He's
Rubio,
winning in the polls.
It's all true.
And the lines around the state. Every night. Same thing.
Well, very interesting. Nobody says you have to stick to one area of attack, and there you saw Marco Rubio evoking memories of what Chris Christie did to him a few weeks ago. Let's welcome in now someone who really knows whereof he speaks. Until just a few weeks ago, we saw him on these debate stages. Joining us now, the former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee. Mike, welcome to the program. It is good to have you here to talk about the debate, and I guess congratulations are in order. This is both congratulatory and offering for a full disclosure. A release came out this afternoon. Donald J. Trump for president announces new senior advisor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So I know you like it when your kids are succeeding there, but we wanted to get that out on the table as well. Your overall thoughts tonight, Mike, on what you saw?
Well, JD, as you know, I've not endorsed anyone in the race, so I'm speaking here just as an observer, but as someone who has stood on the stage with all those people. And what I saw tonight was essentially a schoolyard brawl. I'm not sure that when it's all over, that a lot of voters had a chance to sort through and said, who's the most presidential on that stage? It was, a food fight from the beginning. But let's be very clear. Marco Rubio had a terrific night tonight. He came prepared. He was loaded with information. He was aggressive. And he stuck to attacks only on Donald Trump. He really didn't focus on Cruz as he had in the past. Cruz, on the other hand, I felt like had a potential for a good night. He came loaded with a lot of information, but he made a fundamental mistake in a debate. He tried to take on too many opponents. And so instead of attacking either Rubio or Donald Trump, he tried to attack them both with every answer. And I believe that resulted in a deflected kind of attack that didn't have the same impact or punch. When you take your fist and hit one guy in the jaw, you're going to have a lot more impact on the jaw than if you do a haymaker and try to swing at 2 people at the same time, hoping to connect to both of them. So that was what I felt like was the difference. I would say Trump had a few good moments. He had some good lines. He had some good comebacks. He had some rough spots, to be sure. But I thought it was Marco Rubio's night. And John Kasich sort of provided at least, I would call it an anchor of adulthood, in the sense that he did not jump into the fray. He did not soil himself with the food that was being thrown around the stage. Overall, I'm not sure that any voters changed their minds, but I think that the supporters of each of the candidates probably became more solidified in their support for the guy they liked.
Well, Mike, that prompts a larger question here, and I hope it doesn't invalidate the reason we're here on the air, but when push comes to shove, do these debates make a difference, or is it cumulative, the retail campaigning, the perception? Because, you on that stage got off some poignant, pointed, folksy observations did very well in the debates, but sadly the campaign didn't turn out as you wanted it to. In retrospect, what part do debates really play in a campaign?
A debate can have a big role, and tonight we may see has I believe, maybe brought a new clarity to who's going to be the challenger to Donald Trump. Because really tonight I thought we had three lanes. There was Donald Trump in a lane by himself, the clear front runner. Then you had that lane for the guy who is supposed to be the one that the establishment says can take Trump out. So that's Rubio or Cruz. And then the third lane you had was Kasich and Carson, people who were polling lower but are hanging in there and fighting, as I think they have every right to do. And I hope we get a chance to talk about these folks who call for people to get out of the race, because I'd really like to address that. But those are the three lanes. Tonight, what I thought you saw was that we really saw the emergence of Marco Rubio as the winner between the Rubio-Cruz match. I think he's the one who's going to surge from this. I don't think it affects Trump's voters. They're solid. We've seen some dropping away from Cruz's support. I think Kasich may pick up some support. That's at least the way I'm going to perceive this thing, having watched it tonight.
Well, you know, you mentioned Marco Rubio really taking the offensive against Trump. And I just want to make sure I understand, because he was single-minded in the attacks on Trump, that allowed him to be more nimble with the answers rather than a Cruz who had a couple of guys in his sights, both the aforementioned Senator Rubio and Donald Trump.
Yeah, there's a Bible verse, JD, that kind of goes with it. It says that, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. I think that when you try to have too many things going on at once in something as focused as a debate, you make a fundamental mistake. You've got to walk in there saying, here is my goal. It needs to be singular, it needs to be pointed, and you need to go in there like a laser. Marco Rubio went into the ring tonight, and he had one goal. His goal was to show that he could go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. He could take him on. He was willing to take him on not only in terms of what he said, but in the aggressive way in which he said it. And I believe he achieved that tonight. So if you're one of those GOP donors and you don't like Trump, and you say, gee, we just can't have Trump, then you're looking for who is it on that stage that most effectively can go after Donald Trump. And tonight that was Marco Rubio.
And to that point, Mike, we've got a little interplay between the senator and the front runner. And I guess it's a combination. Maybe I'm coining a new phrase here. Telegenicity for Rubio, being telegenic, telegenicity as opposed to specificity, and some of the counterpunching that Donald Trump can do. Let's take a look at this right now.
I think it's fine. It's an important point that you raise and we discuss on immigration. This is a big issue for Texas, a huge issue for the country. But I also think that if you're going to claim that you're the only one that lifted this into the campaign, that you acknowledge that, for example, you're the only person on the stage that's ever been fined for hiring people to work on your projects illegally. You hired some workers from Poland.
I'm the only one on the stage that's hired people. You haven't hired anybody.
Well,
now you hear the applause and the counterpunch one-liner from Donald. But really tonight, Mike, did we see a change in tone, both with Cruz and with Rubio, going after Trump? And I don't know if you ever rock a guy like Donald back on his heels, but he had to wait. And were Donald's responses enough to keep him ahead, or are we going to see a change based on these interchanges tonight?
Well, I don't think Donald Trump supporters go anywhere. They are fixed. They're locked and loaded. They're ready to go. Nothing moves them. He'll pick up a few points with some people tonight. I thought his close was exceptionally good. I thought he had a very weak answer on health care. He didn't seem to understand what it was exactly he was going to do. And I thought his answer on Israel was troubling. He needs to work on that, because he seemed to sort of indicate that, I'm with Israel, I'm for them, but he didn't seem to understand that the Palestinians have been so aggressive in terroristic acts. They've rejected every kind of possible peace deal that is put on the table since Back in the days of Jimmy Carter, the one time that they did, but they didn't really even keep those agreements. So those were two areas where he just didn't seem to be as ready to give the response. But what he was able to do, I thought, push back, for example, on the exchange you just played, when he made the point that, you know, I'm the only one on this stage that's actually hired a lot of people. That was a powerful point, because keep in mind, what people out there care about is how this election affects them. They're worried about their jobs, not Marco Rubio's, not Ted Cruz's, not even Donald Trump's job. They're worried about theirs. And what he did in a very quick sort of pushback was to say, I understand what it's like to hire people in the real world. You guys are politicians. That distinction is the reason he's doing so well. He keeps his message simple. He doesn't get into a lot of specifics. But on the issue of health care in Israel, I thought he needed to be a little more specific to show that he was prepared to deal with those topics.